Hi and welcome back to my channel for another Card Hopping, a year of fun themes and techniques videos. It's April and I am going for mixed media. I have used this gorgeous You're My Favorite slimline layered stencil from Pinkfresh Studios, and it comes with 3 different stencils. So you have 2 for your flower layering, as you can see on this one here. So you start with one and then you do the other one on top. So for this one, I have used Kitsch Flamingo, which is a really, really light color. Then I've used a little bit of Picked Raspberry just to kind of bring in the tops of the petals there. And then I've used Dusty Concord for the middle bits. And on this other one, I have used the first layer of the flower and the leaves. So on this one, I started out with speckled egg on the flower, and then I have just kind of brought in a little bit of depth and detail with some peacock feathers, a very, very light touch of peacock feathers. So it's just to kind of bring in a little bit of sort of texture and depth to the flower so they don't just look flat. And then with the help of a ink blending tool from Ranger, I have gone in with my embossing pad and kind of gone in for like a really, really, really detailed layer of embossing ink so that I can heat emboss this in Gold Rich. So this is from Wow as well, and this is one of my favorite super staples, and it is such a gorgeous gold. And using this tool is actually a trick that I learned from my friend Daniel, who learned it from Jana Smakola. So I think it goes to show that just because you've been crafting for a long time, you don't actually know everything. So I learned a trick, and I'm going to be using that trick to do the second panel. Then on top of this, to do the other details, I'm toying with the idea of doing more gold. I know, more gold, but can you really have too much gold? I don't think so. But first of all, we are going to do this one. So we're going to do the leaves first, just to kind of get that out of the way. But when you do any type of heat embossing over ink blending, it is super important to go in heavy with a anti-static tool. So I don't know if you can see this, but I have one of these, and I actually opened this up because I don't have the time to kind of like faff about with this little thing on a huge panel. So I opened this up, get some out, and quite a lot as well. And then I used the little bags. This is my favorite way of using a anti-static tool. I prefer the bags because you get such a better coverage. And then with the powder in this, because this is my preferred powder, but this is my preferred tool, so I mix them together. We're just gonna go over this really, really, really well. And you can also set your ink by going over it with the heat tool first. Okay, and then to make sure that our stencil stays in place, we're going to be using a little bit of washi tape just on the top here. Okay, then with your tool, and this pad I use only for the embossing ink, so I don't actually use this tool itself for anything else, just the embossing pad. So you want to squish it into your embossing ink pad and make sure that you get that really, really nice and juicy. And then go in with a slight sort of turning motion to get a better coverage. You can just dab, but I do find that you get a much better coverage if you just turn it slightly to kind of spread that embossing ink out into all the details of your stencil. So you're gonna see here, like these lines are super, super fine. So this can be really quite tricky. With little bits like this is where that little turning trick will come in super handy. It would just give you so much more even results. I mean, at least that's what I find. The thing with crafting, I think, is that you have to find what works for you. So whether you try like 1 or 5 different techniques before you find the one that works for you, that's fine. You know, trial and error, because whatever works for me may not necessarily work for you. So now that we have the entire panel covered with our embossing ink, we are going to remove the stencil, and we're also going to remove that washi tape before we put the embossing powder on. And I always use cheap sheets of like normal just printer paper to kind of catch all of my embossing powder. I have seen loads of people use things like coffee filters, but I cannot for the life of me remember to actually pick some up when I am at the grocery store. So I use printer paper because I have plenty of those. And with my heat tool on the lower setting, this is the heat tool, the dual heat tool from Wow Embossing. And I'm using the lower setting because I don't want to overcook my powder, and also I don't want everything to kind of fly away. And you will see that I'm using a cork trivet, or cork board behind. And the reason I use this is not only to save my fingers, but I do think that with the cork being behind the paper, it kind of bounces back the heat and you get that really lovely and even melting of the powder. And it could just be in my imagination, but I think it actually helps the warping of the paper as well. So win-win, really. Right, so with that heat embossing done, I am just going to take this one and my other panel and hopefully work up some magic to finish them off. So here are my two finished cards, and as you can see, I did go with the extra gold on this one and then finished off super simply with just a hello die cut. And this one is actually got, this is ink blended, and then I've heat embossed halo embossing glitter on top because, you know, glitter, yes. And yeah, so I really quite like how this turned out, and I like the sort of the mix of the ink blending with the heat embossing. And I was contemplating splattering a bit of gold on top of this, but I reined in my gold madness. So I just die cut this down because I managed to kind of mess up the die cut a little bit. You can see it down here, but well, I'm hoping whoever I send this to will kind of just be like, yay, she sent me a card, so we'll put that one aside. And on this one, I did finish it off with some die cutting, a sentiment, and then I stamped up a simple sentiment here, and also put a die cut gold frame here. So these might actually even go in the Pinkfresh Studio monthly challenge where it's all about the gold. So that was kind of handy. So 2 in 1. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to hop on, there is a link down in the description box to the next stop on the hop list. And don't forget to subscribe and like the videos if you like them. And if you want to leave us a little comment, we all love our comments and interaction. So it's super important to keep the interaction going, to make sure that you actually see our videos. And, you know, it's encouraging for us as well as makers. So that's it from me for today, but I will see you soon again. To make things easy to subscribe, just click on my head and it will take you to my channel. And don't forget to click that little bell button too, so you'll be notified of new videos.